Forge has a lot of enemies, and that's usually the case when you are a winner, because you have crushed and you have broken the hearts of many a fan base. But here's the thing. The only team to have defeated them in the final was Pacific. So when I ask you, what better final do you want to see? Is it Cavalry Forge or is it Pacific Forge? No.
Pacific.
Yeah, Cavalry or Pacific.
You did it. It's okay. Yeah, trust it. Trust the sauce. Pacific and Forge. This is what I want to see. Now, I do think it's a long shot. Oh, I do, baby. Absolutely, Chills. I do. Look at this moment. We were right there, probably 10 yards, freezing our fingers off that day. It was so cold. But scenes, right? So this is what I want to see again. I want to see something matched up. I want to see a team who slayed Forge when it mattered at Tim Hortons Field, right? And everyone I was going to the game saying Forge have this, they just have to score. And they didn't on the day. Pacific wore them out, had a first half where basically, I wouldn't say they were surviving, but they definitely weren't thriving, but just kept it going, went into halftime, regrouped, and played them. Forge have a chip on the shoulder for Pacific. I would love to recreate what happened 2 years ago, literally 22 months ago, and go in and have Pacific play Forge at Tim Hortons Field. You want to know why? If I'm a Manny Aparicio or Amir Didic, I'm eating the same meal I ate 2 years ago. I'm literally sleeping in the same jammies I did 2 years ago. I'm doing everything. I know that, yes, this is a Forge side that will probably, everyone will talk about as a dynasty. But to go and beat them twice at home and spoil their party, and then you already spoiled Cavalry's, this would be a spicy final. For me, I would love to see that 2-year anniversary come to light again in a week's time.
So you're going with not just Pacific making the final, but you're going with Pacific repeating. You're not talking about Forge getting revenge.
Let me clarify. I would love for that to be the story. Who I'm going for, I'm going to keep that to myself. But I would love to see Pacific and Forge go at it in 2023 they did in 2021. Don't even try it, Chills. I see what you're doing. Don't do it.
No, I just feel like you already told us what you want to happen. So
I would love to see that happen. I would.
Who you've chosen.
I would.
Okay. All right. Anyone from Forge, if you have any problems, you can please direct all your complaints to Jordan's Twitter handle or Instagram page. Ollie, who do you think would make a better matchup, Cavalry or Pacific against Forge?
I think Jordan made a compelling case. Unfortunately, I think he is entirely mistaken. Forge versus Cavalry is the clear best final here. It's the two teams in the league that have been the best teams in the league through their history. They have the biggest rivalry in the Canadian Premier League. And we have not seen this that you're seeing right now since 2019. It's never been repeated. They've never been back in the final together. I'm ready to see it again. I'm ready to see it at Tim Hortons Field. Obviously, the second leg last time was in Calgary. I think that would be the best matchup that the CPL can possibly throw up. No disrespect to Pacific. We're going to get a great final, whatever. But I want to see Cavalry and Forge go toe-to-toe again.
Yeah, that was back when it was 2 legs.
The answer is Cavalry, unless you subscribe to the fact that Forge will have an easier chance of beating Pacific, and maybe for the first time we see a home side go on and win the Canadian Premier League playoffs, something that we haven't seen. But, I mean, Tommy Bobby banter for the build-up going in. I hope Cavalry fly in Jose Escalante just to troll Forge like in that game. You know what I mean? There's so much history. There's so much that both teams can do just to kind of egg on the other team and their supporters. So it has to be Cavalry. But if Cavalry do play in that final, I'm not sure what the odds are that we actually see a home victory in the final.
Well, here's the thing. If they're in the final, because let's just go back a little bit, Cavalry does still have to defeat Pacific in order to get there. And if we go back to 2021 and, we keep discussing Cavalry's woes in the playoffs, and one of them came at the hands of Pacific. By the way, Kunle Dadaloop, who has been suspended for 2 games and continues to appear to be that way. So he may not be in this game against Cavalry, but this was back in 2021. Was that ball in or out? We don't know. Goes between Carducci's legs, credited as an own goal. But, what do you make of that drama there, Wheels, and Cavalry having to exorcise that demon before, getting to hopefully exorcise the Forge demon?
A lot of Cavalry's demons have been losing the moment. That right there was a big moment in 2021 that inevitably cost them the game and cost them going on and potentially winning in the playoffs at that time. Cavalry if I'm Tommy Wheeldon Jr., that's the one thing I'm hammering home. And I know that Carducci and Camargo, a small group of players, are still there, but they can't allow themselves to lose the moment. That's what separated them and playoff victory is just the fact that when it matters the most, that final touch on the ball, making the save in or out, being clinical inside the area, that's where Cavalry have lacked just in terms of that decision making. So that's what I'm driving home this week. And that's what can inevitably cost them this time around as well. Pacific, familiar foe. There's going to be a lot of familiarities there. So, man, I'm really excited for this game on Saturday.
Yeah. So
very
much of that
excited.
Comes down to, sorry, just to add, so much of that comes down to individual players as well. Like, I'd love to see someone in that Cavalry team, like Ali Musi, as good as anyone in the league for me, like step up and take control of a playoff game, win a playoff game. We've seen Forge players do it time and time again.
And here's the thing. Forge right now is just watching us going, we don't care who we face, bring it on. So Forge comfortably waiting at home right now. For whomever they face. 2 weeks of training. I feel like that's going to be another kind of conversation we'll dive into a little bit more, right? The rest and the rust, but whatever. I'm sure Forge is just feeling just fine. We'll talk about that the closer we get. Either way, tune in October 21st for that semifinal game. Cavalry versus Pacific. That will kick off at 4 p.m. Of course, we'll get you ready earlier than that on the show.